Welcome to video 3, and this one is a little bit of a twofer. We're going to do skill 3 and skill 4, but as you'll see, they're really closely connected. So skill 3 is, I can explain why and how two atoms would form a covalent bond. All right, so let's do a quick overview of the facts. We know that atoms start with a certain number of valence electrons. We can look up this number on the periodic table. We know that atoms want to have a full valence shell. So for most of them, that's 8. For hydrogen and helium, it's a little weird. They only want 2. Everyone else wants 8 valence electrons. We know how to draw the Lewis dot structures of these already, that from the last video. We know that when a metal and a nonmetal bond, it's ionic. We don't care about them right now. We know that a nonmetal and a nonmetal will share their electrons instead, called a covalent bond. All right. So how does this work? Well, meet hydrogen over here on the left. It has 1 valence electron, but wants 2. Then there's this other hydrogen over there on the right. It also has 1 valence electron, but wants 2. So they decide to, share what they got. Hydrogen on the left will say, I'll lend you mine if you lend me yours. And then hydrogen on the right says, yeah, that works. That way we'll both get what we'll need. They will both have access to 2 electrons. And it looks like that. So the electron from the left is being shared between both. The electron on the right is being shared between both. So now both atoms have access to 2. So both atoms now have 2 valence electrons because of what I just circled, which is called a covalent bond. By each sharing 1, they now both have access to 2. That is what a covalent bond is, and they do it to get a full valence shell, or at least closer to it. All right, now here's another example. Here we got carbon here in the middle. Carbon has 4 valence electrons. Each hydrogen only has 1. Now, a covalent bond, as I just said, is when the partners each share 1 of their electrons back and forth, so they both have access to 2. All right, so 1 hydrogen, though, is not going to cut it. The hydrogen will be happy, but the carbon will not be. Each hydrogen has 1 valence electron, but wants 2. The carbon has 4, but wants 8. So instead of bonding with only 1 hydrogen, it bonds with 4. And now we have 4 covalent bonds. We have the covalent bond on top, the covalent bond on bottom, the covalent bond on the left, the covalent bond on the right. Each bond is 2 electrons being shared between 2 atoms. Now we just got to double check to make sure everyone's happy, and they are. Each hydrogen now has access to 2. The carbon now has access to 8 through the power of friendship and sharing. All right, now, here's the review. Skill 3, I can explain why and how 2 atoms would form a covalent bond. They do it to get a full valence shell. And how do they do it? By sharing. They share it with their partner, so each atom has access to both electrons. And you make as many covalent bonds as you need to be happy. Now, that gets a little weird. More on that in a moment. All right, skill 4 is I can use dot structures to draw a structural formula. Well, you need to know what a structural formula is first. Well, chemical formula, we've talked about that. That's the list. A structural formula is a picture. That's your chemical formula that we're used to. This is a structural formula. I've already taught you how to use the dot structures to make a structural formula. I just did it in this video while talking about what a covalent bond is. You literally just do the dot structure for each atom, and then you look at how they're going to hook up, and then you redraw it with them all hooked up. Then you just count to make sure that everyone is happy. Hydrogen has 2, everyone else has 8. All right, now here's an example of a weird covalent bond. So here I got oxygen. It has 6 valence electrons. And oxygen, it has 6 valence electrons. They both want 8. Well, okay, so the oxygens say, hey, we can share these 2 electrons with each other, and that way we have access to both. Now each oxygen has 7 valence electrons, okay? But they're still not happy. They want 8. So they say, well, what if we, at the same time, also share these 2? That way, I share 2 with you, you share 2 with me. Both now have 8 valence electrons. We would draw it like that, and we would call it a double bond because it is double the big. That's it. The end. Congratulations, you've survived video 3, which covers skill 3 and 4.